Back in Power BI, and in this video we're going to show you how to highlight a max value in a chart or visual in Power BI. Remember, you can download the file and follow along, or you can use your own data, follow along. It just requires a date table, and then we're going to use a couple of measures. Mainly we're going to use a variable, and we're going to use an if, and then we're also going to create one measure for total sales. So follow along, download the files in the description below. Let's go to Power BI and show you how to prepare a better presentation for the user by highlighting the maximum value in a chart or matrix visual. In Power BI, download the files and file along. In this video, we are going to show you how to highlight the maximum value in a visual. Now, when you start developing Power BI projects, as a project developer, you want to create reports so that the user can quickly gain some insights and quickly find the data points that are important to them. So in this example, we have total sales by month, and we have a slicer for 2023 and 2024. If somebody is reading this report, they want to quickly see the month with the highest sales. Now, in this example, the November sales are slightly higher than January. But looking at this chart visually, you might not be able to see that. So by highlighting the visual, we can see that in 2023, November had the highest sales. And when you look at the matrix to look at the raw data, we see that November had 260,000 and January had 259,000. So quickly, if they want to see the highest selling month in 2024, you see that September has the highest sales for 2024. And this can be done very fast. It only requires one measure, and this measure is really answering two questions. One, what is the max value? And two, what month is it located in that matrix? Or if we didn't have the matrix, we would be able to see the month is September. So we're going to build this step by step. We're going to build the initial measure. Then we're going to add on. This does require just a couple of simple DAX functions. We're going to use the max function. We're going to use the variable function, but we're going to highlight the maximum value so that you can see quickly the report consumer could quickly highlight and notice which month, and then they could start to do the analysis. Why did that particular month have the most sales? So that's part of the data analysis of Power BI once you have the visuals. But when you're creating the report, you want to make the report easy for the user to consume. Let's get to work and dive into highlighting the max value in Power BI visual. We are going to start when you download the files. The file is going to be called Highlight Max Value that you download. And we are going to create a second page called Highlight. From here, we're going to build out three visuals. Now, these three visuals, we're going to go to our visual gallery. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to choose a clustered column chart. So when you select this, this will bring a chart into the matrix. And from the date table, we are going to bring in the month to the x-axis. On the y-axis, if you go to sales, there already will be a total sales measure to bring that into the y-axis. So we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Now we have the months going down the bottom of the visual. The next thing we're going to do is select a blank area. We're going to bring in a filter. And we're going to bring in the filter and put the year in the filter. Now, to make this a little bit easier to read, we're going to go to the slicer settings. And rather than between, we're going to make a tile. So now we have a tile with 2023 and 2024. The third visual we're going to make from our visual gallery is a matrix visual. And for the matrix visual, we're going to select this over here, and we're going to bring in two different things from the matrix visual into the rows. When you highlight this, we're going to bring in the month. And then for the values, we're going to bring in total sales. Now, the only reason we're doing the matrix visual is so that you can see as you make these changes to your DAX formula, how it operates within the formula. So a lot of times I like to bring out either a table or a matrix so that I can actually see the formula that I'm creating if it's working. So this is just the raw numbers, and then this is the actual visual. So right now it defaults to blue for your visual, and we see that if we select 2023, the highest total month sales is November, 260,268. January is close, 259,152. But when you look at the chart, it's kind of hard to tell. So that's why we want to highlight the maximum visual. So we're going to create one DAX measure, and we're going to build this out by a couple of steps so that you can see these changes taking place. Created our visuals. Now it's time to dive in and create our measure, which is going to highlight those maximum values on the visual and in the matrix. So from the sales table, you want to create a new measure. Now, if you've never created a DAX measure, if you select sales table, under the table tools, you will see new measure. And we're going to build this measure in a couple of steps. So the first measure, we're going to name the measure. We're going to name it Max Sales Formatting. If you hit Shift Enter, that will create a new line. And what we're going to use here is the DAX function max. So what this is going to do is we're going to use the max. And then when you use your IntelliSense, it's asking for a table and then an expression. So the table is the D-date table because we have filters on this for the year, and then we also have this sorted by the month. So we need to remove those filters. And to do that, we're going to use the all function. And the all function still asks for a table name or a column name. So we want the D-date, and we're going to choose the month because we have the month in the matrix. Then we're going to choose the D-date and the month number because it is sorted by the month number. So now when we close that out and use a comma, now we just need the expression is highlighted. The expression, if you use a left bracket, all of your measures will come up. We only have one measure, and that's going to be total sales. Next, we're going to hit Shift Enter, and we're going to close this out. So now when we hit Enter, we have our measure called Max Sales Formatting. We haven't done anything with this measure yet. This is going to answer the first part of the question, what is the maximum value? So when we select the matrix and we we click on the max sales value, now we see that the 260,268, which is in November, is highlighted. And if we were to select 2024, now we see the 293,028. So that is the first part of the question, what is the maximum value? Now that we've answered the question, what is the highest number in that matrix, we now need to do what's called a variable. So we're going to select the existing measure that we have called Max Sales Formatting, and we're going to add a checkpoint to see if we can get the highlighted cell that shows that max value. So now we have the value, we just don't know what month it's in. So what we're going to do next is what's called a variable, and the variable is VAR, and we're going to call this max sales. And a variable name always contains a return statement. So we have the variable, which is max sales, and it's equal to. Next, we're going to go to the bottom of the current measure, hit Shift Enter, and we're going to do another variable called check. And this is going to be equal to the total sales. Does this equal max sales? All we need to do from there is just close this out. Whenever you do a variable function, you need to close it out by using a return statement. And the return statement, we are just going to return check. So now we have the variable check and the variable max sales, and we're going to return the check. So by hitting enter, that will update the max sales function. Now, at this point, we see a true false. And for the true false, if you notice, the true is under September. That has the highest sales total for 2024. When you select 2023, the true comes under November. So that is how we're going to use this to highlight the cell. We've created a measure. We've built this in two steps. First, we did the find out the highest value. The second step was to find out where it was located. Now we're going to do the coloring formatting. So we're going to select the max sales value. And now we're going to change just another addition. We are going to rename the check variable to the color. And from the color, we're going to use an if statement. So if, and then this is still going to be if total sales is equal to max sales, comma, then we want to return the colors. So you can hard program in colors in quotes. So we're going to return orange. If it's the highest value, then for the if statement, you need to have the condition. If it's not orange, we want light gray. From the light gray, then we just want to return, close that out, and then we're going to return, since we renamed it, we're going to return it color. So now it's the variable equals max sales. We have the max removing the filters of total sales, and the color is if total sales is equal to max sales, orange. If not, it's a light gray, and we're going to return the actual color. When you hit enter, this will update the matrix. So now when we reselect the measure, now you see we have orange for September for 2024. When we select 2023, orange goes into the November cell. So now we just need to update the color in the visual with the matrix. So when you select the visual and you go to the formatting, under the columns, currently the color is blue. We are going to use what's called a conditional formatting, and we're going to use a rule. So when you select the FX conditional formatting, we're going to use a field value. And the field value is going to be based on our max sales formatting. When we select OK, this is going to highlight the maximum value in the chart. I've now highlighted the maximum value in the chart. We have set it up so that if you have filters, you have removed the filters with the formula. So we can see in 2024, September had the highest value. 2023, it was November. What you may not realize if you're new to DAX and Power BI is this formula, let's say you have brand colors, you can put in either the actual brand color formula or you could type in a green color and you would be able to change that to green or blue, whichever color you want to use. So that is an example of using this formula. And the formula, again, really just used a variable, which we created a name called max sales. And then we're using just two DAX functions, the max function and the if function. And then we're just returning the color that we set up for the variable color. So now we have this function. This can quickly be built, and you can use this in other Power BI files you have. But this is how you highlight a max sales color from. And remember, we only did this in the matrix. Now look at, if we delete this matrix chart, it still works with the formatting. And if I go undo, that will bring back the matrix chart. So we're just using the matrix chart to check our work, but you could just build this out without using the matrix chart. You could just use the clustered column visual, and then you could have this. And remember, the formula started off very basic with the variable. Then you added in the if statement to actually return that color. That is a look at highlighting the max value with a visual or a matrix in Power BI. We recently did a video on how to build your first data model, if you want to watch that. And also new to the channel is how to build your very first Power BI report if you're learning Power BI. Remember to like, share, and subscribe as we have more videos on Power BI.